Thank you, Yulia, for coming in today and sitting down and talking about everything and anything that comes our way, right? So you've come into my life maybe 5 years ago now. We've known each other, yeah, in through our spiritual circles. So you are a practitioner of sort of shamanic healing, and you host many women retreats. You create these transformational experiences really for women because you go so deep, I find. There's so many practitioners out there, health and wellness is becoming this big movement in itself. And a lot of people like to sort of touch on the surface level, whether they just tap into a little bit of this and a little bit of breath work and a little bit of yoga and all the things. And you've managed, what are you going to tell us? How? To bring it all together and go super, super deep to actually help people heal traumas, heal things that they didn't even know existed there for them, but you bring them to the surface. And how have you managed to go that deep?
So the first part was diving into psychology, into classical psychology, and I was into it since grade 7. I was always dreaming to guide people, to help people, but when I was working with people, I noticed that the psychology is not enough. Like, it's not covering all the subjects, and it was just covering the mind part, but the body stayed somewhere away. And at that moment I started to dig what can be added to make the whole process centered, to make it kind of balanced, and then do not cut off the head or the body, to combine them. And then the practices, different practices came in. I was diving, I was exploring, the clients were giving their fair reviews, what was working for them. And through the trials and the time and through the different groups and settings, I just somehow came up to a system that works. And here we go. That was the time when you met me. The time when the system was there already. So I wasn't offering just psychology or separately breath work or ecstatic dance, the movement. We were diving into everything, and we were working on everything.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I think, again, this holistic idea of not just dissecting, not separating the mind, right, and the body. People don't give enough credence to the physical, actually, self. They think that they have to kind of solve their problems mentally, but no, I think you're doing it the right way. And I think, does it come from your background? Because you come from almost like a shamanic lineage.
Almost, yeah.
Almost.
If we speak about my family, my great-grandma, she was a great healer. She used to gather herbs. She was growing them. She was going to fields, to forest, and gathering them, drying them, making different teas, herbal remedies. And then the second part, what she was doing, she was working with the holy word. She was very, very religious. And by looking at her, and I grew up in that atmosphere where she would put her hand and she would whisper something, and then the pain would be gone, and it was fascinating. And all my family, when it comes to mom's side, to grandma's side, they were into these practices, into unknown, into something what wasn't allowed on that time. And I basically grew up in atmosphere where I would be 8 or 9 years old, and I would study astrology. We would be doing palm reading with mom, or we would use tarot cards, or then the other part that came in the grade 7, as I said, was psychology. So I would combine so many things, and then my family was very, very supportive, and it was forbidden to talk about it in a loud voice in society. On that time, people were more reserved with that subject. The traditional healthcare system was there, and you were supposed to go to a doctor, to sit with grandmas, and then to say that I'm next, I'm coming. And we were avoiding it, our family. We went other way. So I am very lucky because no one ever said that it doesn't exist, and no one ever was compromising me and telling me like, don't be who you are.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I'm lucky. I'm very lucky.
I love that, because I think that's also another big missing piece today is the support factor. People don't even know who to turn to, even if they have an interest to try something different, but their family members or closest friends, right, are not for it, and they're like, well, how am I going to make my way in the world? And what do you help support people in those decisions as well through your practice? Do you have clients that come with you?
I do, and I do often hear that people want to try some different things, new things, and then their family approach is more traditional, and they kind of feel excluded out of the family if they bring up something new. And then their parents would say like, what is that? Like, it's not working. It's something what is not known for us, and like you better don't go there, because you might end up in some I don't know, religious
cult.
Yeah, in a religious cult where you are praising I don't know, a tree. And by the way, I'm praising the trees. I'm into that cult. I do work with the plant energy, but overall I think these limitations, they are there for many people. And through the work, first of all, what I'm introducing people to is to remove those limitations and allow yourself to see much more, and then to choose what is really yours. Because maybe for one person the psychological approach is 100% working. Then for another one the movement, the breath work, the yoga, then the Kriya yoga is working, and for another one there will be something else. And basically the main thing is that you should feel comfortable in what you're doing, how you're healing, and the family, sometimes they do support you, sometimes no. But again, if you feel centered enough, if the boundaries are there, you don't stick to someone's opinion, and we both know it, like as people who are offering other people this holistic approach, something natural, something that is not well known there. We do know that there's lots of resistance coming our way, but can it stop us? I don't think so.
No.
Never. Like, no.
I agree, because it's that inner intuition. When there's a deeper voice telling you this is what you're meant to do, you can't resist that. Like, you can't just repress it and then think that you can go on the rest of your life, right? Feeling like, oh, I'll just go do the regular thing and then I'll go in and out.
By the way, I have an interesting story, not just mine, but I also had several clients who came to me and they did feel different energies when they were young. But the family approach, as I said, was traditional. So they locked these talents within themselves, and then years passed by, they did simple practical jobs, and they came to me with the request if we can open it up because we feel unhappy.
Unlock that.
What
they buried up.
And really many people whom I know, they went from corporative work into holistic stuff, and like clients who were working in low companies and became neurographic specialists, clients who were working as managers, real estate agents, and now they are guiding feminine circles. People who were I don't know, into financial bank stuff, and now they're doing breath work. And many traditional professionals, they would say like, what are you doing with them? And I would reply that I'm just helping them to feel comfortable in their own skin. And if that's something what they want to do, like I'm kind of supporting them in that. But I'm not telling anyone, you know, this is the right thing, that one is the wrong one. And I strictly believe the guide is not a person who says you need to do this or you need to do that and then you will receive this and that. The guide is someone who can listen to you, who can give you the capacity to bloom, to grow, and the guide is creating a space, a safe space to grow. And also the guide is that terrible person who is asking you lots of questions.
And to kind of enter into the darkness, right?
The right questions. So my clients know that I do ask many questions. And I don't think that my opinion is correct. And it's the only truth out there.
This is a big one.
Yeah.
To be open-minded, to know that nobody can ever know all that there is.
And I'm like, how the hell you can guide a person if you think that you are the master of this earth, and then you put that crown on your head, and then you are leading people into what? Like, who are you? Are you a god? Are you the universe? I think that the balance when you work with people, and it's not just about, you know it as you work with people as well. The balance is to lead, but at the same time to equally understand that not you are the one who is teaching. We learn from each other. And when you know it, the respect is there. It's kind of, it's natural, it's floating, and the space is there. Space for you and the space for the person who comes.
Speaking on that, do you find that through this process of being able to guide and help others, you yourself grow along the way?
All the time. I'm using my job in my personal personal life. Like
it's perfect.
That's another part where I feel very lucky because the majority of people, they need to come to therapists, and like I'm in therapy all the time from morning until evening because it's impossible to guide someone and do not reflect on yourself. Kind of what you separate yourself from the process totally. During the session, during the group work, yes, I do listen to what people are saying. I read them, I feel them, I offer them help, and they're the center of attention. But at the same time, I hear what are my thoughts on that, and then afterwards I can reflect and work on them as well. And that's the best part.
I think that's true teaching and true healing. Like you've tapped it right on the head, because that's how it should be. And then you also, keep bringing up this idea of safe spaces. Let's get into that.
Let's get into that. The safe space. So doesn't matter what kind of practice you're creating, or even if it's educational process, school, any after school activities, or even its friends circle. I do believe that the person who is inviting others, there is one person who puts us all on the carpet. You know the movie Aladdin, where
the magic carpet.
The magic carpet. So we do have those carpets.
All of us.
All of us. Yeah. Not all of us know how to unfold them and how to invite people to sit on those carpets and how to fly, but we know. So when we are creating safe space, it's we are inviting people to sit on that carpet, and there are certain energetical boundaries that are safe for those people to open up, because any transformative progress process, it takes space, and that space can be a room, or that space can get out of the room. But anyway, the leader is guiding people through that safe space. And it's very important when we are done and the closure is there to put that carpet and remove it. Because what is often happening, people let other people, they guide other people. They might be great professionals, but later on, people would suffer, clients would suffer, because no one explained them that the closure needs to be there. And then they come out of the practices, they come out of retreats, herbal remedies, different kinds of medicine that are offered there, and they feel naked. They're exposed to all their energies are exposed. That's perfect, but then their energies are out there, and not all the people need to touch those energies. So this is a very, very the responsible professional, I would say, like that, will always think about the opening space and then closing the space. The responsible parent would open up to a child and would open up the space and then kind of wrap that, maybe with an ice cream later on, or with a funny joke. But we don't leave our kids when they are triggered. We don't just go away.
It's very true.
We kind of end that process somehow. Maybe it will not be done until the end. Maybe it will unfold later on. But we do put a closure there. Like, I can't imagine any healthy parent who would see a child crying and would say, okay, like, goodbye.
Or pat you on the back and
like,
see you later.
That's it, see you later.
Oh, people used to, though. I feel like it's a previous generational thing, right? And we've kind of evolved.
Maybe that's why we are so strong. Maybe that's why we are so aware, because my parents, I can say about myself, and again, I've heard many stories of my clients where they would say, don't cry, don't feel what you feel, be this, be that. And many people grew up, they have so many layers that they are lost who they are. And all practices are about removing those layers, becoming naked, and then again dressing up, but dressing up in those clothes or in that style that you like, that you choose, not something what someone else was choosing for you. Like, it makes sense, right?
It makes total sense. Do you have this idea of the generations where each, the souls that were coming in, the kinds of souls that are entering the planet each time, say you and I, but then our children, are there big changes within those souls?
There are, and I also believe that before we come to this world, we are signing contracts, and we know that we need this mom, and we need this situation, and we need this kind of approach to grow, to work on our karma, and then the other family wouldn't be that helpful for us. So when I'm saying it, I acknowledge that for very traumatic experiences, because we are laughing here, but things are serious. Like, things can be very serious. And when it's traumatic, and we would share it with people, we would say, like, you signed the contract. They would say, like, no, I wasn't signing any contract to live heavy life, heavy obstacles, to work through them. I want to be happy. But here we go again. The spirituality, the depth of the process, it teaches us how we communicate, why we communicate, what is there for us, and how the process is happening. And when we know it, it's easier for us to go into that process. And when we know that, yes, the souls are coming here to help each other, then we can dive into the process. We know that we can't exclude it. It's just happening.
Yeah, that's completely true. Is there a sort of a first initial way that you would start working with someone, if you will, that is, say, going through a really hard time, navigating, like, oh, my family members are just not aligned with me. Like, I just feel so much darkness or whatever it may be, right? That I'd rather go spend time with my friends and not my family members, but I feel this obligation to do it. How can one person just really understand how to create these boundaries? Or, I mean, and maybe different for every situation, but is there a way to tap into that, to kind of relieve themselves a little bit, to understand?
Okay, here I would ask the question, like, let's play it out.
Okay.
You're the client. You came with this request, and then you're asking me that how I can work with that, or what can I do with that? Is that it?
Yeah, so for example, I just can't get along with my mother, right? Constantly, whenever we don't see eye to eye, there's always conflict. And so when I'm in her space, in the same space as her, I just feel like I'm suffocating or something. It's just too much. How do I go about not completely cutting that relationship off? Is there a way to be able to navigate that?
I would say, I would ask, first of all, like, describe what kind of feelings are present for you there, and is there any issues with the trust from your side? Are you expecting your mom to give you something? Or maybe I would tap into that subject. What are your expectations?
Okay.
What is your view on your relationships? The person would describe it, and then as the mother is not present there because they didn't come as a couple to work through that, and people tend to do this, and it's a great thing if they want to participate.
Together, you mean?
Yeah, together,
Okay,
the family therapy. But if the mother is not there, I would definitely encourage a person to look more into themselves, how they feel. And if they feel uncomfortable because the mother is pressuring them with different suggestions or with her opinion, I would introduce that person to that space where you can hear everything what other person offers you, but you can say, no, this is not working for me, and you can do it in a really calm way, in respectful way, and if a distance is needed, it's there. It doesn't matter if it is your mom or someone else. What really matters is how you feel, and if you suppress your emotions and you start playing that happy family to create some sort of visual facade exterior, then ask yourself, are you really present in this life, or you are present in a setting, some sort of setting? And if you don't want to be present in that setting, there will be a moment when you learn to say that it's uncomfortable for me, and I don't want you to talk to me this way, and I feel this and that. And another part what I would teach a person is to own their feelings. Do not be offended by the phrases that mom says, rather than tell her about my feelings and give her space and give her time to reflect on it on her own. Because otherwise, the mother is suppressing you, you are suppressing mother, and the process is never ending. And there should be one person who stops and says that I own this and that. And then offer other person to own his or her feelings. And that's the best part, because mostly
people come around. I think with time.
They are in that loop. They don't see that running. It's not bringing them to a point where they have solution. It just extends the process. So in order to extend the process, I would say just stop. Don't be afraid that for some time your relationships might be cut off. And again, numerous of cases of my clients who came, they changed, their parents would say, oh my goodness, you're going to that psychologist, what did she do to you? You started to say no, and I was suggesting you to marry to that guy, or I was suggesting you to raise your kids this way. I'm like, how could you? You started to say no to me. That's the flaw of that psychologist. Don't go there. Don't go there. And then if you own your choice, you will smile about that, and you can own it, and you can tell to your mom that, you know, mom, there are things that are working for you, and this is working for me. And that's the way it is. And that's it.
And you're right. And if a person really cares about you, they will, with time, be able to understand. And change, hopefully. That's another thing. Change and growth.
We are changing, we are giving the capacity of acceptance, the capacity of love, and then the trust and belief that that person can change and find power to change. And the person sees it, adapts it, and then the person can reflect on it. Not necessarily it will be there. Sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes there are cases when we are growing and people are not growing, or opposite. And then the only way is, again, to ask yourself if you want to stay with that person, if you're ready to stay in that discomfort for a longer time, just because you're relatives, you can go with that. And then if no, then no. It is as it is.
So I wanted to also just ask, what do you think about the bigger universal sort of growth that's happening among souls that are more aware and more conscious in who they are? Is it helping everybody else within our planet, say, sort of evolve and grow at the same time? Do you have that belief?
I do believe in it, and as a person who was watching Avatar movie, and I'm sure everyone who is listening to us were watching it. If no, people watch it. It's really nice. The idea of Avatar is that all of us are interconnected. We are connected to each other. And when we understand it, we tend to take responsibility for what we are doing or how we are growing on us. And we do know that we grow, our family grows, our kids, they pass it to their friends, they talk about it maybe at school, and then it spreads. Okay. It's like it spreads as a virus, but a good virus, a good one. Yeah. So the more people work on their inner state, the more society benefits. I don't go and tell people around, everyone needs to be there. Begin with yourself. If you put enough work of meditating, reflecting, being aware, and then sharing it, you create that space. And then those people, they will come to their friends and it will be passed. So I really don't think that the world can stay in stagnation. It always changes, and there are times when there's more fear, and then the society kind of attracts more fear, and then the other crowd comes in and they are calm and they are connected and they are centered with themselves, and then they start putting something into that fear, and then the fear dissolves. This is how it works. So
do you think we're in that cycle right now? We're in the dissolution?
Yeah, we are. I hear it that we are, and it's happening, and it's a beautiful process, and it's a painful one, and many people are resisting. Many people grew up tremendously after COVID and during the COVID, and it was kind of, okay, we will remove those materialistic stuff so that you don't have opportunity to skip, to talk to yourself, to see what is really there. What is really there present in your families, what is there in your relationships with kids, what is there when you don't have opportunity to escape the setting, the real space, your space. And then this was difficult for many people, because for those who were not working before with any practices,
it's a shock.
It was a shock. It was a shock. They were supposed to look at multiple things within themselves straight away, and it was shocking. And thanks God the online was there, and it was possible to help people. And that was one of the things that I was sharing, because we were dancing a lot. We were releasing lots of energy, and people would come and they would ask and they would work on themselves. So I do think that any changes that happen within the society, I believe that they're positive changes, because they're giving us opportunity to choose something else.
Even those like dark, negative stepping stones are just that, right? They take us to the next positive thing, and without that, there's no path to connect it to.
Impossible to grow. It's impossible to grow. Totally. Same as there is death and life, love and hate. You feel that amount of love, you understand that there is gratitude, or you see things in positive way, because you can compare how it can be. And imagine like that part would be taken, and we would be kind of not even balanced. We wouldn't have that opportunity to value what we have.
That's
and
exactly it.
In this case, it's like it's balancing. And also, I don't see difficulties as something negative. I've learned through experiences of other people and my own that these are just pieces of puzzle. Some of them, they're more colorful, they're brighter. Some of them, they're scary. But then you put all of them together and they make that the whole you, the nice one, the nice photo or the nice artwork. And you can't just exclude that part that is that brings you discomfort, or that bring you darkness. That's the way we should see life, the wholeness of life, not separating us. And when we are coming back to that situation with the mom and the person who is asking about their relationships, if I see my mom as a negative person who is constantly disrespecting me, or who is trying to manipulate with me, I see only darkness in her. If I see that there are different parts in her and this is the way she's approaching some pieces of her puzzle, and I can separate it, I can separate myself from those pieces because she has her own photo, she has her own frame, and she puts those pieces. In this case, I am more receptive to those,
to the positive,
stuff.
It's a law of attraction,
and to that transformation, and I can react towards her words in a calm way. But once I see it as a negative thing, that's it. Then it begins, like it goes down, and it doesn't help us to grow.
No, not completely. I think that's exactly it. It's totally that. And you did go through some really hard moments in your life, actually, quite recently. If you're open to talking about that, but you know,
which ones mentioned? Because there were a lot.
Well, that's exactly it. They all kind of, you had a bunch that, like, just one snowball effect.
One after another.
Another. How did you deal with something like that? Like, when it all just fell at once? That must have been really difficult. And you didn't really have much of a, like, you have your children, which I'm sure is lovely. But at the same time, children also need a lot from you at the same time. So it's not like they're an adult that can give you that support system per se. How did you go about that with yourself?
The first and the most important one was, again, to see that it's just a life cycle. And shit is happening. And sometimes we're dealing with that. And this is the moment, the difficult moment, where I knew I will learn many things about myself. Dark ones, lighter ones, different ones, and it will be changing. It will be changing me as personality. And I thought about the time that I would give myself to stay in that process. I wasn't in a hurry to get out of it. I wasn't,
because you weren't afraid while you were
declining that, you know, like I don't want to go there. I was just working on acceptance, and then when the acceptance is there, I can go through feelings to dive deeper, because the first layer is to have the capacity. Remember the carpet, and then we start putting something on the carpet. Here is the story with this person. Here is the issue about that. Here is the quality that is bothering me. And then I was just looking at it as it's something that is very natural and organic, and it helped a lot. Another thing that helped was the therapy. The therapy was there, definitely. It was there on heavier moments, it was there on the lighter ones, and the therapy was...
what sort of therapy would you be looking at?
I was going into classical psychology, and I was also, as I highly value the movement and then the body work, I was going into body practices.
Somatic?
A lot,
almost?
Yeah. Breath work, free movement, the expression of my emotions, not through words, but through body, and it helped a lot. So I combined, again, working through my limiting beliefs and through struggles here, and then the other part was covering this one. And in all of that, there were people who were present for me, my friends, and I think that it's very important to ask for help, to say that you need help, rather than okay, I will deal with that, other people have their own problems, I will not put it on them, or I feel uncomfortable to talk about it, or they saw me before as a strong woman and I can't show that part where I'm falling apart. And I was pretty okay to show that I'm falling apart, and I spoke about it during the retreats, and I would talk about it during the sessions, and I wasn't hiding it, because there is no perfect image that I need to put out there for people, and I don't want other people to put that perfect image for me. So
people probably connected more with you once they saw that you're just as vulnerable.
They recognized themselves. I recognized myself in their situations, because some of them would come to me before and they would solve it, and then they would ask me, they would say, okay, now you are going through that, and I would I would say, yes, I am, and they would be just looking, and we kind of know we understand each other.
It's like an energetic exchange. You kind
Yeah.
of gave each other something, right? Wow. That's powerful, and it's amazing that that gets to happen in your line of work. I feel like so few people actually get to experience that, and I think people get caught up in competition and called the ego, so be it anything of that sort, and they don't actually go to that authentic place of who they are in their work. But I think that is the place where many people are desiring
to
go. They just don't know how to get there.
That's another question. Recently, I had a situation where I posted something very personal on my account on Instagram, and I got lots of support comments, and I also got lots of hate from people who were looking at it and they couldn't believe that something that loud, that natural, that expressive could be out there, and they would say like, you were playing, you were acting, and I would go like, oh my god, like why?
Was it not the naked, but the
no, it wasn't
bathing suit video or something?
No, it was the video when I was standing on the nail board and I was expressing my grief towards the death sickness, and it was very loud, and like my face, my body was talking, and I was shaking, and I didn't plan it actually. But the best part was to see that there are much more people who tapped into it, and they shared their stories. And then small part, like 10% of those comments, they were about the lies. I was asking people the question for those people who couldn't even look at the reality of this whoosh that happened. I asked them, how do you feel that you are staying close to it? Does it feel uncomfortable? Does it feel familiar for you? Or what is it bringing in you? And like when I asked those questions, many of the hate comments disappeared because obviously people started to reflect.
It's called like triggers, right? They're seeing that within themselves now. You
can see things in another person if you allow yourself to see those things in you.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's a journey, it's a process, and I think that the purpose of any professional is not just teach practices, not teach the theory or words. It's about offering people to stay a bit more in that vulnerable space where they can express themselves fully, emotionally, physically, energetically, and then bit by bit people learn to stay there 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they take it, they adapt the experience, they put it into life, and they're like, wow, I didn't know it's possible, and it changed my life, and it changed my relationships with my spouse, with my kids, with my friends, with my colleagues. I'm like, look, I have those beautiful people around me, like, and they understand that it didn't happen just on one day. Like, people pointed and said, okay, all the good people will come to Anna. Like, also, like, you have lots of good people around you, like the nice people.
It's true, but it is because of what you just said. Because I had to go through the steps, and I allowed myself to access that and then permanently stay in that state. Like not going in and out. And it doesn't mean we don't feel, like you said, sadness or grief or other emotions. Everything is felt and everything is welcomed.
That's a good one. I love it. Like everything is welcome.
Everything's welcome. How can it be otherwise? It's all a part of you and me and each of us. And I think we get to experience a different kind of experience on this planet as us as souls, maybe living, or whatever you believe in, wherever we go when we're not present here in the physical body. The experience is, in my opinion, very different. We're not in 3D reality, and here we get to feel everything so deeply. And if we hide away or run away from that, then we haven't fully embraced the experience.
Do we even leave? Like,
no, you're half living.
Half living, exactly.
That's why sometimes I think people feel like they've lived more than one life in the lifetime. I've had people mention that when they finally open themselves up to this reality, and then it's like, yeah, you're right.
They're blooming. They begin blooming. They feel everything in a full capacity. The smells,
like springtime.
the food. And then they would go around, and I can see these people in the crowd because I'm the same. Like, I would express so many emotions, and the other people, they would also open up because they see it's possible. So the more of us are doing it, the more people are getting this experience of another normal state. This is that normal state.
It is the normal state. The natural state is the normal state. And we don't have to run away from progress. I keep mentioning this, I think, with every conversation, sit down people, but it's finding that balance point of what works for you.
Yeah.
Because nothing is negative. It's only if you view it to be negative. If you can view something positively and you can, mesh it in the perfect harmony for your own self, then this is your life path.
Yeah.
Right? Like technology, for example, it has so many beautiful, positive ways of use. Even AI, right now AI is the big one, right? And everyone's scared. Yeah. Not everyone, but some people are all for it and they're like, this is the way. And others are scared, running for the hills. But it's how you embrace it.
How you use it,
And how you use it. You don't have to, if we're all afraid of it, sitting here, well, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing good is going to happen.
The progress is not happening if we are afraid and we're reserved and we're locked. The progress is happening when we are afraid. We take that fear and we kind of make that fear our friend, and we're saying we're afraid, but we can do that. We can try. And then it changes.
And then it changes.
Yeah.
We literally have the power to change anything that comes our way, comes into our world, right?
I believe in it.
I believe in it. I believe in it. I know I'm not trying to convert you, that's for sure. But I want everyone to believe in it. And I think it starts with what you said. You have to start believing in yourself first. Your real self.
The real one.
The real one, not the fabricated
no,
make-believe version that, society and your family had told you are. And that's the first step. And then you start recognizing that you literally can transform the world. It's not a voodoo concept. It's not this new age, weird science thing. It literally happens.
And you don't do it intentionally. It comes in very natural way. Because when you are putting the pressure on people, let's change you, or Anna, let me teach you this or that. You would go like, okay, why she put so much importance and she's so fixated on that idea? Like, what she really wants to achieve with that? Because the person who is pressuring you with the knowledge, why this person is doing it. And the other thing is that to imagine that there is a round table here, it's standing right here, and then I have some sort of experience, or I have stories, or I have questions, and I put them here. And you have right to take whatever you need from that table and contribute your stuff. And
you can take some from me.
Yeah, so right? and then we are just teaching each other in this way by giving the space. We don't need to be squeezed into each other. We can just let's squeeze them and let's make them aware. Let's make the meditation as the only tool, or if person is not doing yoga, that's it. They're not spiritual. Like forget about them. That was the best part. What you've mentioned, that I am for, like with both of my hands, for that healthy spirituality. And healthy spirituality is about knowing that we wear clothes, we eat food, we drive the car, we have money, and that's also another subject for one more podcast. That we can use all those things. And this can be spiritual. The spirituality doesn't come separately from the real world, from the practical world, because we have a form, we have this body, and it is materialistic, it is practical. So when we work on our soul, the soul in the current moment lives in that body. So we do need to work on both equally.
If you deny the body, which again a lot of spiritual teachers maybe in the past have done, and were worshipped for, in this, like, you're climbing up into the heavens, the staircase, right? Up, 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 up. Everything is going up only.
Yeah.
And like no more down and no more anything filling the space elsewhere. It's like you're losing out. You're missing half the equation.
The darkness and then the work, the shadow work that is so popular in the last few years, it became the most wanted subject. Like, let's work with the darkness, because before we worked only with the light.
Yes.
And we were just
headed
fixated
towards the
on
light.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
towards the light. Almost flying up, and then suddenly someone said, okay,
magic carpet stopped working.
Yeah, stay grounded,
Yeah.
and look at your feet and look around you, and then look at the fact that you have food and that you have that body, and now let's work with this subject. And then everyone suddenly ran into the darkest places and started to explore what is there. And I think it's actually a good part.
I agree.
To know the list of your limiting beliefs, the list of the blocks that you're carrying inside, the list of your black, heavy and smelly stuff, and kind of own them. Because when you own them, when you name them, you can work with them, you can transform them, or you just accept the fact, for example, that you're making a mess at home and it's not working. This dark, terrible thing is not working for your husband, and he says, like, clean up, Anna, or clean up, Julia, and you would go like, that's my dark secret. It's there, and I can own it. It's natural, again, combining many things in you and seeing that neither of them has importance.
I love that. No, and it's exactly what I'm wanting to, why I'm sitting down with you, why I'm wanting to also create this. It's a holistic community, and we're looking at all the parts of our life and seeing what feels most needed and necessary to have in it right now, whether it's, being healthy through movement all the time, or, eating healthfully in this way and that way, attending certain spiritual events, like whatever is needed most in your life, you lean into that, and you think, like, we will help you sort of attain, through the support factor of putting out videos like this, and we're going to have the master classes, right, of talking about these issues. People can then feel, I think, more supported and feel, again, with what you said though, they feel whatever's most relevant for them. And I think that's a beautiful way to approach life and spirituality. And again, in my opinion, it's the way forward. And I think it's your opinion too. But
it is. And I would like also to encourage those people who will be watching us to comment what they see here, what they hear in this podcast, and then to reflect on it and maybe leave their feelings, leave their opinions or stories, because it is valuable. And I do believe that by doing that, you will know what kind of professionals should be there for society, what kind of questions,
where the gaps are,
where the gaps are, and what kind of questions should be covered and introduced to people. And it's our project. It's not just yours, but it belongs to all of us.
It belongs to all of us, and that's exactly it.
And that's why the name of it is
Earthlings.
So it's not like Anna's project.
It is absolutely that. It's not. It's such a bigger vision. It's a community project, and I don't even want to take it all on myself. And as it grows, it is going to grow into more and more of us. We are. Thank you for tapping into that, because we're all living it. We are all Earthlings. That is why the name came to be that, right?
And I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This was so insightful, and I think it's going to be really helpful for people to hear. Yeah, and we will bring Julia on again. She's going to do maybe even a series of master classes, because you just have so much valuable knowledge. And
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm wishing everyone who will be watching us, listening, please do remember that any cycle of your life is important, and you have all the time you need to transform, to evolve, to discover, to explore. And the Earthlings is the platform where you can find that ultimate support for any situation in your life. So join follow and share with your friends.
Thank you for that so much. And she's actually Lotus Woman on Instagram. We will link her, but
Yeah.
Lotus Woman as the flower that she is.